Welcome to the ExoDexa podcast. I'm here with Nolan Bushnell, who needs no introduction, I'm sure. But today we're going to talk about AI for positive change. What do you think, Nolan? Are you worried about what AI can be, or are you charged up about it?
I'm charged up, but I like to call it cautious optimism.
Mhm.
I think that anytime you have a power, it it always has this two-face to it, this Janus look, where you know it can be used for good and it can be used for ill. Just like any piece of technology, you can dig a hole with a shovel, or you can hit somebody over the head with it. And so AI to me is another one of those pieces of technology that really, really, really can be a powerful force for good. And there's kind of a couple of axioms. When you reduce inputs of whatever it is, you increase access. Other people can make things. So if AI makes things cheaper, more people are rich, not because they make more, but because they can buy things for less. And there's this whole panoply of space of replacing workers with tech, whether it's robots, whether it's industrial machinery, whether it's steam powered looms starting the Luddites, and the rule is that when you replace a job, if you try to protect the job, you lose. If you celebrate the job loss, you win. And that sounds counterintuitive because, everybody should be able to have a good job. And that's true. And so what they have to do is they have to have different jobs. I mean, if you were a single woman in the 30s, you probably were a telephone operator. And, that's all those jobs went away. And is the world a better place for it? Yeah. I can remember coming back from Europe and having a telephone bill. It was like $1,000.
Yeah.
Since it was expensive.
It was. Yeah, the internet has changed a lot of things. Well, I think, every new invention has put something else out of favor. The automobile put the horses out of work. And we're going to continue to see that. One of the speakers a year or so ago at an ed tech conference I was at said that the only people who are losing their jobs and their livelihood to technology are the ones who refuse to engage with technology. Because every time there's a new technology, there are other new jobs that come with it, and finding, retraining people. I guess the big difference there is that people used to, even, when I was in my early days of school, you thought about the career you were going to have, and you were going to do that, and that's what you were going to do until retirement. And that's just not possible anymore. We need to be lifelong learners. I have contemporaries who, didn't want to get involved in the internet, didn't want to have an email address. And they have sort of been sidelined in the world, because now just about everything you need to do. My 94-year-old mother has to apply for things on her little iPad. She used to make a phone call. Now you can't get anybody on the phone. So, and I think with kids, there are so many opportunities, and they do have to be taught earlier how to discern whether something is meaningful, and how to check facts. So with because AI can go off the rails and start telling you all kinds of things that aren't real. So it still requires the engagement.
That's the real world now. Everybody's telling you stuff that isn't real. TikTok is.
It's true. We really need to be a less gullible society, and more.
Yeah.
I think this next generation will be more engaged in looking for peer review articles, looking for ways to affirm that something you just were told is true. And we used to have, like journalists who did all that for us, losing those.
Well, they're going to be looking for that, but only if they're not lazy. There's always going to be a lazy way out,
Right.
and that's accept and be gullible. And there'll be a price paid for that, and then you get beaten around the head and shoulders, and you say, well, maybe I'll be less gullible this time. Like,
Yeah.
It was really nice that I had a Ugandan prince leave me a whole bunch of money, but
Right. Somehow it ended up costing me money. How did this happen? Yeah. Well, and I think in schools there are real opportunities, because if our goal is to develop lifelong learners, then our interest should be more in in that they learn to learn over exactly what they're learning and how they're learning it. Because if kids are writing a paper and using AI to do it, then instead of having them hand it in and the teacher spends the weekend grading them, you hand it in and then you present your paper to your class and you have a Q&A, and the teacher knows during that Q&A whether the student actually learned it. And if they did learn it and AI wrote it for them, do we care that AI? Yeah,
in fact, figuring out how to get AI to write something for you is actually a skill set.
it is. Yeah, it's a new generation.
I've been having fun with AI, and I think that AI tutoring is going to be a really important thing. It's going to open the floodgates for a lot of kids who couldn't afford tutoring to now get a synthetic tutor that's really cheap and really powerful. And I'm actually going to be adding that into the ExoDexa suite of opportunities, and I think that that I can make it fun. How do you make AI fun? Well, maybe you dress it up like in a clown suit. Would you like to learn from a clown?
Right.
Would you like to learn from Jiminy Cricket? Would you like to learn from Kobe Bryant?
Right.
Would you like to learn from Abraham Lincoln? I can create these simulations because a lot of learning is about resonance. Do I want to be resonant with you? Do we have a communication channel? Do we talk the same language? Do we have the same values? If we don't have the same values, why? How do we meld ourselves into having values that are good for society?
Really.
There are values that are toxic.
Yeah. Yeah. And I wonder, can AI help promote empathy? Can it help us become less judgmental? And I often see when people see something done differently than they do, there's either a "what are they doing?" or
Right.
"oh, what are they doing?" Like, because the "oh, what are they doing?" you could learn something from. But the "what are they doing?" kind of comment is a judgmental comment, not an explosive question.
I've actually been a little bit equivocal on judgment. In some ways, being judged is a feedback mechanism.
Hmm.
Societal disapproval is one way you say, hey, maybe I'm off the rails a little bit. And that's judgment. Society judged me to be wanting. Maybe I should change. And also, there's this whole idea of what is the good? And it sounds like that should be easy, but it's not. There's the good, the Aquinas, what is the good? Differs a little bit from the Hegelian, what is the good?
Hmm.
And a lot from the Buddhist, what is the good? What is one hand clapping?
right?
You know. Anyway, I
Yeah.
wax eloquent.
Yeah. I think that's a big part of the John Rawls book, Theory of Justice. Like what is best for society, and how do you measure it? How do you determine, if keeping one child enslaved in a basement is actually making life easier for 20 people above ground? Does that make it okay that we're keeping that child enslaved in a basement? It's not necessarily what's good for the larger number. It's sort of like, how do you determine as a society what's best for the community?
Yeah, it's a none of these are easy problems. And I think that if we can create a whole generation of kids that are smarter than I am, they might be able to figure some of that out.
I think they're smarter than all of us, because these kids are, I mean, give a child any piece of technology and they will intuit, pretty quickly find their way around what they're trying to do. Whereas, I'm not a digital native. It takes me a bit of time to get to that.
Yeah, but some of the things you're doing with the foundation. I mean, I think the maker world is really, really important. I mean, really, really important. Doing things with your hands, building, measuring, cutting, gluing,
Yeah,
creating.
I agree.
I mean, Bloom's taxonomy. Synthesis is an important thing, and when you're making, you're synthesizing.
Absolutely. And there's we've talked about this research before, but what we remember 2 weeks after an experience, we remember 10% of what we read, but we remember 90% of what we do. So
Yeah,
having kids doing things is important. And that doing is also, video games are a part of that. But I think that, maybe on one of our later podcasts, we'll talk about the importance of adding physical activity. We talked about it in the book, but adding physical activity so that parents aren't concerned that the kids are spending all of their time on computers. We want them up and moving. And
well, this is where I recommend the book Spark, which links exercise and learning, and with very, 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 very positive results. That you actually build your brain when you exercise and then learn. And 20 minutes of exercise at 80% of your physical capacity, which changes with age,
Mhm.
and everything you learn for 2 hours after that is remembered better. So in our school, we postulate there's 2 exercise periods, one before school and one after lunch. After the nap,
Right.
lunch, nap, exercise, and that supercharged you for the afternoon.
I love the idea. I think if they added napping to the Olympics, I might have a chance.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I think
Well,
we've covered today's issue, but let's talk about next time when we come back. Let's talk about how parents can support their students.
yes, sir.
Thank you all for joining us. Thank you, Nolan, and we'll talk soon.